Hello there YouTube. Today I want to share with you is the keyboard from Feker. It's called Alice 80 and it's a ergonomic keyboard, which is the famous Alice layout with a little bit of twist because it have independent arrow key and with a knob on it. Now I will just skip the opening and all the stuff and then straight away jump into what they give you. Now they give you some basic tools and user manual, and they give you one spiral USB connector, and they give you one dust prevention, I don't know, some lid or something. You can use it to cover up your keyboard in case there's some dust get into it. And let's talk about this. I bought this keyboard at Alibaba, which cost me roughly around $80 to $90. And it comes with a free handstock, wood stock. And keep in mind that this wood stock is specially customized for this keyboard. There is a bit of curve, as you can see right here. There's a bit of a curve in here in the middle, and there's also a curve like here. So if you're buying this one, keep in mind that regular one, the wood stock, is not gonna work for the Alice 80 because they have a special shape for this. Now let's talk about the form factor first. The form factor for this keyboard is a little bit high. About what high? Imagine the Keychron K6, that kind of height. But when a lot of people they kind of complain that the Keychron K6, when typing for a long time, your wrist will hurt a lot. When adding a wooden stock, your hands would obviously feel better. But however, on this one, I feel quite fine. I'm guessing because that with this ergonomic build, you can have your hand rest with a very comfortable position. Okay, now let's go back to the form factor. In the back, you have two-stage keyboard stand and the metal plate, which looks kind of fancy. And in the back, you have the dongle right here. Even specify make some, I don't know, special design to make you easy to grab the dongle. And look at the switches right here. You can switch between Windows and MacBook on and off, and it has a Type-C charger. In terms of connectivity, it has a wire mode, the charging. This is the charging indicator. And you have the 2.4 gigahertz, which is the dongle using, and we have Bluetooth right here. So let's talk about the layout. Now this is about the form factor. It's quite heavy, and the sound is completely damped out with a lot of silicone tab in it. I'm not going to disassemble this keyboard right here because you can find this video on Bilibili or somewhere else. But they did their job, so you cannot hear any hollowness in here. And one good thing about this, even though the product itself is positioned as a DIY keyboard, the stabilizer is surprisingly good. Just listen to it. Oh, yes. And it gives you 3 of this key because they know that regular people, if you are a keyboard enthusiastic, even you are a keyboard enthusiast, you don't normally have a complete space bar for this kind. So they give you extra space bars and they give you an extra B for this. Now let's talk about the usage for this one. So this keyboard is better to use with the wood stock itself, but however, this is the more closely to a 65% layout, which looks like this. If you want to reference the size of it, is slightly bigger than the 65 keyboard. So the whole point about 65 layout is that you want to save some space, right? But adding the wood stock will completely define the purpose of, well, having a small space. So I wouldn't use a wood stock anyway. But that's a little bit high. However, I don't feel any discomfort or anything. Now let's talk about the typing experience. The typing experience, the one I'm using is from TTC, the gold pink. It's very light and very quickly activated. What I want to say is the typing experience for this is a little bit weird at the first time. Well, you have to give some time to learn about this. There is a learning curve in it. And from my experience is that when you look at the keyboard and type, you're gonna suffer a lot. So I can blind type, I can type without looking at the keyboard. But for me, if I really want to see where is the 6, where is the number key, I will get confused sometimes because the layout is completely different. So it really takes a little bit time to get to that. And so if you are a person who cannot type without looking at the keyboard, this keyboard is gonna make you confused a lot. So first one I don't recommend is that you cannot type without looking at the keyboard. The person that I don't recommend you to buy this one. And the second one is that you use number key for a very, very often occasion. The position is right here. So to reach the number key right here, you can see it's a little bit harder than the regular 65 layout. And what annoys me is that I use number 6 a lot because I'm typing my language, and when typing my language I use 6 a lot. And another thing is that before you buy this keyboard, make sure you observe one thing. You need to observe how you press the space bar, okay? So for this one, you can see right here, this is their control. I put it in the control key, but this is actually Windows key. You can see right here. This is the control, this is Alt, or if you're on Mac, this is Option key, and this is Command key. They put Alt and Command in here, both way, to indicate both Mac and Windows system at the same graph, which is pretty clever. So if you're a Mac user, okay, the position of the Command key in here, you're gonna feel very familiar, which is pretty good. And I highly suggest you use, if you're a Mac user, highly suggest you modify the key to suit your need. So the other thing I want to talk about is that you have to memorize where you use which finger, whether you are using left finger or left thumb or right thumb to press your spacebar. Now that matters a lot because when you're using right thumb to press your spacebars, you're gonna have no problem with this one. But however, when you're using your left hand on this one, most of the time, especially in the very beginning of this keyboard, when you're using this keyboard, you're gonna press on the command button, which is gonna annoy you a lot. Like I said, this keyboard takes time to adjust to your need. So what I suggest when using this is that you look at the screen and slightly tilted your hand to make it feel like it's most comfortable. It is. I'm using the left hand to click on the spacebar, so I hate this a lot. So I'm still getting used to it. It's about 1 week I get this keyboard, but still with this kind of tiny failure, not tiny failure, tiny drawback, I still feel like this keyboard is almost perfect. It doesn't have hollowness, it doesn't need you to do any looping or anything. The stabilizer is good and the connection is fast, and it has a ton of a huge battery inside. And overall I would say that, and you have a knob. This one can control the volume. This is the volume control. It's very useful, and you tap and it becomes a mute. And then some people, they will complain that there's a wobbly in this knob. But how often are you gonna use this as a PS5 controller? No, it doesn't bother me at all. And it has a independent delete key, and it has everything. So overall, I would suggest that if you can type without looking at the keyboard, and you really want an ergonomic setup, your keyboards, you use keyboard for a long time, I will highly recommend you use this one. But keep in mind that this keyboard I'm buying just the keyboard itself. It's a gasket pad, so there's actually 2 PCB in below So if you are a heavy typer, you can definitely feel it's more squishy than your normal gasket keyboard. And this is the sound of 37 grams of linear switches. And these arrow key, they are from Gateron Pro. And this is a Holy Panda one. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching.